I'm going to give anybody who is thinking about playing Yamask or Cofagrigus a warning. Before you do, don't. Just don't. This Pokemon is absolute hell to play, and you'll see why. The rules are on screen, but they're also in the description. As I battle my rivals, let's look at Cofagrigus' starting learn set. Astonish, a weak physical ghost move, Protect, a stalling move and a Gen 2 special for the battle against Red, Disable, a move that's pretty useless, and Haze, which should cancel out any boost my opponent has used, but it also cancels out mine. And as I defeat my rivals, let's look at the rest of Cofagrigus' learn set. It gets Haze again at level 9, Nightshade at 13, Hex at 17, Will-O-Wisp at 21, Ominous Wind at 25, Curse at 29, which works differently for ghost types, Power and Guard Split at 33, Scary Face at 34, fitting for a ghost type, Shadow Ball at 39, Grudge at 45, Mean Look at 51, and Destiny Bond at 57. Do you see a problem with this starting set and its learn set overall? Because if you don't, let me point it out to you. We have nothing to hit normal types in the early game, and 2 of the first 3 mandatory trainers have normal types on their team. The first mandatory trainer is N with his lone Purloin. Then there's youngster Jimmy with his level 7 Patrat that knows Bite. And finally, Bianca's Lillipup that has Odor Sleuth, so it can hit us with Tackle if it were to use that. And in terms of wild Pokemon to train on, Lillipup and Patrat appear on Route 1 at a 50-50 rate. However, on Route 2, that rate drops to 40% for both, and there's a 20% chance we can encounter Purloin. While we can use Astonish to knock out the Dark type, it takes a while due to Cofagrigus' awful attack stat. And to prepare for the struggle that is struggle training, I'm going to purchase as many potions as I can in Accumulatown. 13 in total. And speaking of Cofagrigus' awful attack stat, we can see that on display against N. Although Purloin does resist Astonish, it's doing so little damage because it also has Growl. One thing I could have done as well in this battle is use Haze a bit more often. I'm not going to outspeed Purloin, but I could have also tried disabling it and then using Astonish. I've sped up this battle because it took nearly a minute and a half of real time to complete, but I end up just PP stalling the Purloin and it knocks itself out with Struggle Recoil. And now comes the awful part of this run, draining all of my PP for Struggle. It doesn't take me long right now because I just battled N and I only have 9 PP of Haze left, but I almost take myself out against this first wild Lillipup. I'm going to run back to Accumulatown to buy more potions with the money I won from N, but I can also sell the 5 Pokeballs in my inventory. And there are a lot of things I want to talk about in this early game, so buckle in. It's probably going to be quite boring for you as a viewer, so please bear with me. I mentioned earlier that Cofagrigus has an awful attack stat, and if we look at its stats overall, it's a defensive Pokemon, with 145 base defense and 105 special defense. It does have 95 special attack, which is nice, but remember, all the moves it learns via level up that are attacking moves are ghost moves. Pair that with a 58 HP stat, 50 attack stat, and 30 base speed stat, and things don't look particularly good on paper. If we quickly look at its TMs, it's mainly status moves, but there are some special moves in there as well. Hidden Power, which I will be going for today, and I went with Hidden Power Fighting because I need some type of answer for Grimsley, because this thing surprisingly doesn't learn Focus Blast. Psychic is a nice option, but it's only available in the post game. We get Shadow Ball as a TM, but I'll probably learn it by level up by the time I get to the TM. And while it's not a special move, we get Thief, a dark type move that can hit normal types. This TM is located in the Wellspring Cave, and you don't even need Surf to get it. But first, we need to get through 13 mandatory battles. Youngster Jimmy, Bianca, Sharon, Waiter Maxwell and Waitress Tia, Silent, Lass Erie, 2 Plasma Grunts in the Dream Yard, the double battle against twins Kumi and Amy, Sharon again, and 2 Plasma Grunts once again in Wellspring Cave. Of those 13 battles that I just listed off, 9 of them use normal types on their team, which means we're going to be having to resort to struggle strats. Although for Silent, I did come up with something on the fly, and thankfully I did. Otherwise, I probably would have spent even more time trying to get the first badge. But I keep bringing up how this is a struggle and a slog, so why don't we talk about struggle really quick? If you're a Gen 1er like me, you're probably thinking to yourself, struggle strats aren't that bad, but not so fast, my friend. Struggle has changed since Generation 1, and let me show ya. In Generation 1, it's a normal type move that deals half the damage you dealt back in recoil. Not bad, and honestly, I would take this effect over how it works today. In Gens 2 and 3, it deals typeless damage and only deals back a quarter of the damage you dealt in recoil. And this right here, this would be perfect for Cofagrigus. But unfortunately, we have Modern Struggle, which deals a quarter of the user's maximum HP in recoil. And I guess it doesn't really matter what Cofagrigus' HP stat is when this is how Struggle works these days. But a trainer like Bianca with multiple Pokemon, or the Plasma Grunts that are back to back, if you're not one-shotting one Pokemon and two-shotting another while taking no damage back, you're done. And this is what makes Cofagrigus so frustrating. Now that I've talked about Struggle, I guess let's just jump ahead to the first mandatory battle. Youngster Jimmy has one Patrat at level 7. Patrat knows Tackle, Leer, and Bite. Ideally, I want to one or two shot this thing with it only using Tackle or Leer. Bite will result in us knocking ourselves out, unfortunately, which is exactly what happens in this first battle. I struggle train in the wild up to level 9 and try again. This time, I'm able to two-shot his Patrat thanks to my opening struggle getting a critical hit, 1 of 13 trainers down. Another good thing is that defeating Youngster Jimmy gives me more money, along with access to these 2 items that I never grab, a Pokeball and an extra potion. Perfect. Because trainer boosted experience is much better than wild Pokemon grinding, I'm going to try my luck against this optional trainer, Youngster Roland. He has a lone Lillipup if you couldn't tell by his dialogue before the battle, and I'm able to two-shot it with Struggle. This gets me more money for potions, but also to level 10 above a damage rounding threshold. I decided to try my luck with Bianca. Maybe if I get lucky and one-shot her first Pokemon, I can get some good luck on her second and maybe critical hit it twice, take no damage from it. That would be nice. I can two-shot her lead Lillipup, but Tepig is looking like a 3-shot, so I'm going to need to train more. I guess one good thing about this early struggle training is that I'm getting a lot of attack and speed EVs from the Patrats, Lillipups, and Purloins. I should also note that by this point, I'm running low on potions and money for more, and this is where the run gets really painful. On the brink of level 11, I face Bianca again knowing I can knock out Lillipup and just take the experience and black out to Tepig. And once I run out of healing items, I figured my best source of experience was to drain my 75 PP of moves. And yes, you heard that right, 75 PP. 30 of Haze, 20 of Disable, 10 of Protect, and 15 of Astonish. Doing this shit sucks. But anyway, I have to drain all 75 PP of these moves on Wild Lillipup and Patrats. If I get lucky and encounter a Purloin, I can knock it out with Astonish, which does get me some experience, and then just black out to Bianca over and over, rinse and repeat. And if you had to play this on 1-time speed, I would do one of 2 things. The first, I would find a way to make it to where you only encounter Purloins. This honestly would speed up the grind tenfold. And the second, I would hack in rare candies. I know Madrybread has done that in some of his runs to cut down on the grind time, and with this Pokemon, that was extremely tempting, but I'm not going to do that. We're going to press on and suffer. Anyway, I continue the blackout grind against Bianca over and over. And by the way, sifting through this footage was painful, and the fact I don't have the first badge within the first 10 minutes of the video, I just want to say, if you're still watching, thank you. I'm predicting retention on this one will be bad. I might do what Gym Leader Matt does and put timestamps in a pinned comment so you can just jump through the video easier. Anyway, I grind up to the brink of level 12 before I start taking attempts at Bianca without blacking out. I know I can win, I just need the luck to align. I have to two-shot Lillipup, and when I level up to 12, my max HP is now 39, which for rounding purposes, Struggle will now deal 10 damage to me, and since I have 21 HP when I knock this thing out, I can use Struggle twice without taking myself out from recoil, so I need a critical hit on Tepig with one of my hits, preferably both, and it can't deal back any damage to me. I should also note that Bianca does have a potion she can use on her Pokemon, and if she does use it, reset immediately. It took me a while to get the luck required, and when it comes to real time, it took just over 45 minutes to get by just Bianca, but at least now I've made my way to Striaton City. The good news is that I can at least use Astonish on the next two required trainers, Charon and Lass Erie. There are also items like the X-Speed, Dusk Ball, and Great Ball that I could sell for more potions if needed. My gut feeling is that I should at least hold on to the balls, because I am going to need to capture HM users, although right now it's not a pressing matter. Let's take on Charon at the trainer school. Although Snivy is faster, its Vine Whip doesn't do very much damage, and I can knock it out with 3 Astonishes. Against Purloin, when it growls me, I want to try to disable that, and then go for Haze to get rid of the attack drop. Then I can just use Astonish to slowly knock this thing out, and against Lass Erie, it's the same thing. This Pokemon does learn Nightshade at level 13, and I wish that move worked like it did in Generation 1, where it can at least still hit normal types, because things would be so much better. I now have access to the Striaton City gym and more money for healing items. The old man inside the gym gives me a fresh water, but something more important that I didn't mention prior, when you defeat Charon in the trainer school, he gives you Oran Berries. These will be essential for some of the battles to come in this early part of the game. I only have 3, so I have to choose wisely on who to use them on. I figured putting one on for Waiter Maxwell, Waitress Tia, and Silent would be the 3 that I should probably do so for. Before trying my luck against the gym trainers and gym leader though, I go back into the wild and train up to level 13 above a damage rounding threshold, but I can also learn Nightshade at this level. The fixed damage move will actually be better than Astonish in some cases, and it's half the PP that Haze has, which I delete in place of it. So how does Waiter Maxwell go? Well, Struggle looks like it's a 4-hit KO. Lillipup uses Odor Sleuth and then Bite before my Oran Berry kicks in, and I end up 3-shotting it. Nice. What about Waitress Tia? Well, while I am able to get by her Patrat, it's a double knockout against her Purloin. Instead of blacking out and taking the experience, I'm just going to reset because I want my Oran Berry. I head back into the wild to train on wild Pokemon to level 14 and try again, and in this attempt, I'm able to get by her, 2-shotting her Patrat and 1-shotting Purloin, with some healing help from my Oran Berry. I didn't touch on this prior, but in terms of real time, it took me nearly 47 minutes and just over 2 hours in-game time to get by Bianca, and I'm going to be attempting Silent for the first time at about an hour and 9 minutes real time and just over 4 hours in-game time on the clock. Let's see how poorly this one goes. The answer is very poorly. I can't even make it by his first Lillipup. I get knocked out when it's on a sliver of health. Silent also has a potion he can use on his Pokemon, which makes this even more frustrating. I tried 5 more times against him before I got this attempt of making it by Lillipup, thanks to a critical hit from my first struggle, only to lose to Pansage. Since his Lillipup is the best source of experience I can get, I just take the Blackout. I head to the wild and train to level 15 and try again, and just like the first attempt, sometimes I can make it by Lillipup only to get cleaned up by Pansage. So it's back to the wild to train to level 16, and then I got an idea. I'm going to inch as close as I can to level 17 so that I'll level up when I knock out his Lillipup, learn Hex, and defeat Pansage with that. Youngster Joey helps me out some with the trainer boosted experience, along with some blackouts to Silent to speed it along. Before this attempt, Struggle is going to 3-shot Lillipup and leave it in a range where Chili doesn't use his potion. It does hit me with a workup boosted bite and my Oran Berry kicks in, but when it falls, I level up to 17, learn Hex over Astonish, and my new move is able to 2-shot his ace Pansage. After an hour and 57 minutes of real time, I finally have the first badge. But I have 4 more normal Pokemon to get through before we can claim the Thief TM, and no more Oran Berries. And the upcoming battles against these two Plasma Grunts in the Dreamyard are back-to-back, as well as the Wellspring Cave. I really wish the player had access to more Oran Berries beforehand, because they would make the battles a lot easier. The first grunt has a Patrat with Bite, and if it uses this move, you might as well reset. What you want is to two-shot the Patrat and then get a critical hit to one-shot the Purloin. Of course, you can also just critical hit the Patrat to one-shot it and then two-shot the following Purloin. This took over 8 minutes of real time just to get this luck to line up, which is why I'm just cutting to this winning attempt. As I head to Route 3, I'm going to grab the Ball Mushroom to sell later. The twins on Route 3 aren't a problem, and neither is Charon. At least right now it looks like one of my rivals won't give me any problems during this playthrough. The nice thing is that on Route 3, there's now access to new Pokemon like Blitzels, which aren't immune to my attacks. I knock this one out to reach level 18 above a damage rounding threshold. Now it's time for the Plasma Grunts in Wellspring Cave. And at this point, some of you might consider this challenge run invalid or a dead run, and I'll explain why. The first battle is a one-on-one, which Cofagrigus is able to handle, but it takes 2 struggles to take out the Patrat, and now I'm at half HP for this second battle, which is a double battle with Charon. Technically, if you get knocked out but Charon wins the battle, the story progresses, and he even heals your Pokemon afterwards. And I'll be honest with all of you, with Thief literally right in my sight and the hellish grind of over 2 hours just to get to this point, I'm gonna roll with Charon winning the battle to let me progress. I'm not trying to train on Blitzels, Roggenrollas, or Woobats to level 19, 20, or even 21 for Will-O-Wisp just to get by these 2 grunts. If you consider the run invalid at this point, cool, but with how long it took to get here, I'll be honest, I really don't give a fuck. After the grunts are defeated, I pick up the Thief TM, teach it in the place of Disable, grab the glitched rare candy on Route 3, and enter Nakarine City. I'm going to head west towards Pinwheel Forest. I grab the Rock Smash TM along the way. I actually couldn't remember if Cofagrigus can learn this or not, and it can't. I actually need to look at its TMs again. Well, we do get access to Grass Knot after we defeat Lenora, and once we get to Nimbasa, we can grab the TM for return, along with the TM for payback. There are a few trainers I can battle for some experience before taking on Lenora, because I will need at least level 21 to learn Will-O-Wisp, and with Thief on my moveset, if I encounter a wild Timpole, I can use it to steal their Persim Berries, and I even grabbed a few Citrus Berries this way. While doing this training, I actually get a blackout to preschooler Julia here. Her first Pokemon is a Cottony. It sets up Leech Seed on me before going down, and then her following Petlil is able to put me to sleep, and the damage from Leech Seed and its Mega Drain is enough to take me out. Well, I've already taken enough blackouts in this run. What's another? I do get my revenge, and when I'm done with all the trainers in this area, I reach level 20. Really, I'm on the brink of level 21 before facing N. I have to knock out his lead Pidove with Thief, but when I do, Cofagrigus levels up to 21, I teach Will-O-Wisp in the place of Protect, and I have no problem with his other 2 Pokemon. I do want to point out a misplay here though. I'm burning his Pokemon first and then going for Nightshade. I should be using Hex with this move, because it deals increased damage if the opponent has a status condition on them. This run just had my brain so scrambled. I should also note that this portion of the voiceover was done super early. I started this run Sunday morning, January 25th, leaving off after taking a few blackouts and losses to Lenora, spoiler warning, and I came back to it and completed it in full the afternoon of Saturday, January 31st. Also, just to backtrack to that Sunday, sorry my Broncos fans, I was rooting for you guys. During the week break, and really the day of, I wanted to write down some initial thoughts, record how I felt and whatnot. That way it would still be fresh and I wouldn't have to think back to that Sunday, where at that point, all I would be able to think of is, man, fuck this Pokemon. And I still feel that way after this run. I can't use the Will-O-Wisp Hex combo in Lenora's gym for obvious reasons, and against the strongest gym leader in Unova, I'm going to have to rely on Thief, Will-O-Wisp, and some luck. This first attempt at Lenora just shows me how far I am from defeating her. I'm probably going to need level 25 above 2 damage rounding thresholds. I'm barely able to get by her lead Herdier. Granted, Lenora does heal it with a super potion, and Herdier's physical attack stat is cut thanks to the burn. Both it and Watchog have Bite and Crunch, both of which are super effective, and even though I have a decent defense stat of 75 in this battle, my pitiful attack stat combined with Thief being my only attacking move, even with Will-O-Wisp, this is probably going to take a while. I took some blackouts and went back to the wild to train from levels 23 to 24. I can use the one rare candy I've picked up to go to level 25. This brings me above a damage rounding threshold, but I can also teach Ominous Wind in the place of Nightshade. And in this attempt as I'm nearing level 26, I have decent health by the time I knock out Herdier thanks to a crit from Thief. Unfortunately, Cofagrigus is really slow, Watchog puts me to sleep, and not even the held citrus berry I got from a Timpole can save me as it slowly knocks me out. The battle we're watching now, along with the rest of the video from here on out, is the portion that was filmed January 31st, and this is also the end of my early voiceover of my thoughts and whatnot. Herdier, for some reason, only uses 2 bites, but it also hits me with 2 leers. Although Lenora does use her super potion, health-wise, I'm in a great position for Watchog. I was confident I was getting close, so I put on a Chesto Berry prior to this battle. Watchog opens with a Leer to bring my defense to -3, as Will-O-Wisp thankfully hits burning it and cutting its attack stat. It then lands a Hypnosis, but I wake up right away thanks to my Chesto Berry, and Thief does pathetic damage. It looks like it's doing as much as the burn damage. Watchog then hits a Crunch as Thief and Burn bring it to low yellow health. The next turn, it hits me with a Hypnosis. I don't wake up right away as Burn chips it down. I began to get worried at this point, but with 11 HP remaining, Cofagrigus wakes up to land the finishing blow. At 2 hours, 39 minutes, and 15 seconds into the playthrough, I have defeated Lenora. I'll probably have something at the end of the video showing all of the splits for each gym leader, skipping all of the rivals in between, only listing that first Bianca battle for obvious reasons. In Pinwheel Forest, I can get another attacking move, Grass Knot. It won't be useful against the next 2 gym leaders, but will see use in Clay's gym and against the ground type specialist himself. As I head to the Sky Arrow Bridge, I grab the Quick Claw from this hiker. This might be useful later on. Once I arrive in Castelia, I grab the TM for rest, along with the scope lens since I did do some optional training at the battle company that wasn't really needed. And after the Team Plasma stuff, I can crush Berg, our first easy gym leader. This is refreshing. I have to battle my rivals as I leave town, starting with Bianca. I didn't heal prior to this battle, hoping I could save some time by first trying her and getting the free heal before Charon. I start by burning her lead Herdier with Will-O-Wisp and slowly chipping it down with Thief. Bianca burns through her 2 super potions on her lead, which I take out with only 3 Thieves left over and under half HP, but thankfully I can use Hex on her remaining party members. It one-shots Muna, and I have to 2-shot Pignite who brings me to red health with Flame Charge, and thankfully I resist Pansage's grass moves, and hit it with a Will-O-Wisp Hex combo to win the battle. The battle against Charon is also a close one due to the Sandstorm chipping me down every turn. One advantage Cofagrigus has is that P-Dove is a much weaker lead than Herdier, but also the free heal I mentioned prior to this battle, because if I didn't heal, we would be looking at something completely different. Panpour is an easy one-shot, and despite Liepard being resistant to ghost moves, it has pathetic defenses, so a combo of Will-O-Wisp and Hex take it out, and Thief actually comes in clutch against Servine. I can use it to steal its Citrus Berry and heal up, and that was the difference between a win and loss in this battle. I think I've only mentioned these plasma grunts as you enter Nimbasa once, in my Samurott video when explaining the plotline and everything that goes on in these games, but I have to give them a brief mention right now, because the lead is a Watchog who I have to chip down with Will-O-Wisp and Thief. This Watchog has Hypnosis, Sand Attack, Crunch, and Detect. It doesn't use the Dark-type move thankfully, and while it does pelt me with Sand Attacks and puts me to sleep with Hypnosis, Cofagrigus takes it out no problem, along with the following Trubbish. Once I enter Nimbasa City, I can get 2 new moves for Cofagrigus. The first is the TM for return from the Pokémon Center. I decided to teach this in the place of Hex, which I feel like might have been a mistake. I think I should have held on to that move, and I'll touch on it in a little bit. After grabbing Strength, I play Dress Up with Bianca, and I just want to say, I wish this thing could hold more than 2 items since it has 4 arms. Come on, Game Freak. The second TM we can grab is on Route 16, where I can also get a rare candy, but I get caught by this Backpacker. Backpacker Peter. He has 1 Pokemon, a Scraggy. If you're wondering why I'm not at full health, I got caught by the 2 trainers prior to him as well. Since my friendship is maxed out, Return does about 3/4 to it as it hits me with a Swagger. And from here, Cofagrigus hits itself twice and Scraggy hits me with a Payback, which is actually the TM located on this route past the boulder above them, and that's another blackout in this run. Instead of heading back to Route 16, I'm just going to head straight for the Ferris wheel to battle N. Thanks to his Scraggy Swagger and me snapping out of confusion immediately, he's not a problem, but how will Elesa go? The first battle doesn't end in my favor. Her Emolgas play tag in the form of Volt Switch. I test damage with both Return and Ominous Wind, and it looks like Ominous Wind is doing slightly more, but I should also be going for this move with the upside of an Omni Boost. Since all of her Pokemon outspeed me, I have the Quick Claw on to see if I can get lucky, which I don't, and Zebstrika finishes me. In the next battle, I test out Will-O-Wisp. There is an upside and downside to this. The upside, I can burn her 2 Emolgas that like to tag in and out, but the downside is having the Quick Claw on, which if it procs, Will-O-Wisp will just fail and I have a wasted turn. Or if they decide to not use Volt Switch and use something like Pursuit or Aerial Ace. While I do knock out one of her Flying Electric Rodents and her Ace Zebstrika, I don't get a Quick Claw proc on her final Emolga, who finishes me with a Volt Switch. The third battle is where everything just kind of lines up for me luck-wise. While Will-O-Wisp doesn't weaken the power of Volt Switch on her Pokemon, it will weaken the other moves like Aerial Ace, Pursuit, and Flame Charge. And this battle is why I feel like deleting Hex was a mistake. I should have deleted Thief because I can reteach that move if needed, or since I'm moving second, I should have went back to Route 16 and grabbed the Payback TM since it will be dealing double damage. But as they say, third time is the charm, as Cofagrigus gets through this one with 6 HP remaining. Before heading out west, I do head back to Route 16 to grab the rare candy, along with the TM for Payback. As previously mentioned, this move doubles in power if the user moves after the opponent, which Cofagrigus is going to be doing pretty often. The battle against Charon as I head towards Driftville is an annoying one. Against Liepard, I should have just used Return instead of burning it first. And I don't get an Omni Boost from Ominous Wind against Panpour, but it's the beginning of the end against Servine. While I can 2-shot it with Ominous Wind even after its Citrus Berry, it hits me with Leaf Tornado lowering my accuracy and Leech Seed, and his final Pokemon is Tranquil. This thing loves to use Detect, and the accuracy drop from Leaf Tornado rears its ugly head as I miss over and over. By the time Return does hit, it's too late and Tranquil defeats me. I make it back to the annoying bird in the next battle, but again, I've been hit by Leech Seed, and this thing just detects over and over and over, and once again, Cofagrigus loses. In the third battle, Servine, instead of using Leech Seed or Leaf Tornado, just goes for Growth twice. Ominous Wind 2-shots, and while I still have a lot of Detect shenanigans on Tranquil, Cofagrigus, on its third try, gets the win. As we cross the drawbridge into Driftville City, one thing I want to mention because I haven't talked about it much to this point in the video: Pokedex entries for Hidden Power. I'm doing so much better in this run than I did with Excelgor in terms of that. Once again, a huge shout out to Shadow Stitch for putting together that guide. I'll put a link in the description. Once I arrive in Driftville, before heading to the cold storage, I'm gonna head to the market to grab the Expert Belt. and then head to Clay's gym after driving Team Plasma out of town. I was hoping I would reach level 39 before battling the ground type specialist so I would get Shadow Ball beforehand, but learning it in the middle of the battle won't be a big deal. I've taught Grass Knot just for his gym and forgot to put on a Persim Berry before facing him, but confusion shouldn't hurt Cofagrigus too much, right? Krokorok opens with a swagger and I immediately hit myself. Not once, but twice as it goes for Torment as well. It then goes for Crunch bringing me under half health, but Cofagrigus snaps out of confusion and return one-shots. Palpitoad is next and I switch to Grass Knot which one-shots the water ground type. I level up to 39, teach Shadow Ball in the place of Ominous Wind, and last is Excadrill. Because of Torment, I can't use Grass Knot, so I go for Will-O-Wisp to cut its attack and deal chip damage every turn. Next turn it goes for a second Hone Claws as Shadow Ball and burn damage bring it under half. It then goes for Rock Slide, not dealing much, but it gets a flinch. While its next Rock Slide brings me to red health, but Return is able to hit and finish off his ace, earning me the 5th badge. Before you can leave town, you have to battle Bianca, and I taught Thief in the place of Grass Knot, and I'll admit, I completely forgot I had Return on my moveset for Herdier. I guess playing a Pokemon this bad, you'll miss some pretty obvious stuff like that. While knocking out Herdier is slow, she doesn't cause any problems, and it's a first try victory. Chargestone Cave. Normally I mention the Plasma Gauntlet in the basement, but something else I can bring up are some of the entries I can get for hidden power like Archon, Tortuga, Swadloon, and Lilligant, just to name a few. While here, I am going to grab the Bright Powder in the basement, along with a rare candy. The battle against N at the end of the cave isn't a problem, and we can move on to Mistralton City in the Celestial Tower. If you check out Shadow's hidden power guide in the description, there are a lot of entries you can register into your decks on Route 7 here. Unfortunately for me, I should have went up and around instead of straight through the grass, because I run into Ranger Mary here. She has 3 Pokemon, Swadloon, Simipour, and Tranquil. The Swadloon isn't a problem, I can one-shot it with Shadow Ball, along with Simipour, but Simipour is faster and burns me with Scald. Which brings us to Tranquil. I accidentally used Shadow Ball on this thing which has no effect. It uses Taunt and Detect a bunch, and Burn and Hail eventually take out Cofagrigus. I decided to take the Blackout because I couldn't remember my last save, and because of the Hail, the Tranquil faints before it can knock out all of my HM users. To make up for this, I find a wild Cubchoo in the grass and have it knock out my final HM Pokemon so I can black out. If you think this is against the spirit of the challenge, well, for this particular Pokemon, I don't care, because this run is just full of faults. As I climb the Celestial Tower, I grab the Will-O-Wisp TM just in case I want to reteach it or swap it for another move I'm going to grab a bit later. I also grab the Spell Tag while here. After sending Skyla back to her gym, I make a quick trip back to Driftville to grab the Shell Bell, before heading back to the Mistralton gym, battling annoying Tranquils along the way to Skyla, who I don't expect to be a problem. Swoobat is first. It's faster and Assurance despite being super effective does pathetic damage. I heal back the lost HP thanks to the Shell Bell, with Shadow Ball one-shotting Swoobat. Unpheasant is next. Air Slash doesn't do much as I burn it with Will-O-Wisp before going for Return. Skyla burns through all of her Hyper Potions before Return gets a critical hit to one-shot. Last is Swanna. It just sets up Aqua Ring as Shadow Ball one-shots. Skyla wasn't a challenge, but Charon before Twist Mountain is. I said after the second Charon battle that I was glad I would have one easy rival, because he was easy compared to Bianca in the beginning of the run, but the script has flipped, all because of his lead Unpheasant. This thing is faster, it has Air Slash which can flinch, Detect to waste my time, and let's not forget the Hail going on to deal chip damage every turn. While I make it by his lead, Liepard easily cleans me up. I lose to Hail damage after knocking out Unpheasant in the next battle. The biggest problem is not having enough HP for the 3 remaining Pokemon. It also doesn't help that Liepard has Torment, or the fact that his Pokemon outspeed me, so they'll always get a hit in before I do. And after 3 more losses, I decided to go around and collect some of the rare candies I can grab right now, starting with the Anvil Town candy, followed by the Route 2 2 rare candy, and the Desert Resort rare candy. I decided to give Charon one more try before I start using candies to get above some damage rounding thresholds. And of course, the RNG gods bless me in this attempt. I make it to his final Pokemon Simipour with decent HP, tank its Scald, and one-shot it with Shadow Ball. In Twist Mountain, grab the Winter Candy, substitute the Iceris Winter Candy, and before I head to Brycen's gym, I'm going to go to Route 17 to grab the TM for Toxic. I can swap this out with Will-O-Wisp if needed. Now, can Cofagrigus crush Brycen, or will we be the absolute joke? I'm happy to report Cofagrigus can defeat Brycen on its first attempt, making him the absolute joke. And I remembered a Person Berry for this battle. While Vanillish is slow to knock out, I get a free attack boost from Beartic thanks to its swagger, which I just heal the confusion off thanks to my berry, and Return does its thing. Good job, Cofagrigus. Before entering Dragon Spiral Tower, I want to talk about the water you can surf on outside of it. There is this Ace trainer who has a Galvantula on their team. There's also the TM for Embargo here, along with this Ace trainer that has a Darmanitan, which is another new Pokedex entry for us. The back-to-back-to-back-to-back Plasma Grunts don't give us any problems. I taught Grass Knot prior for the Crocorox on their team. It with Return are good enough to get by. Normally I'd have a Yu-Gi-Oh bit for this section of the run, and I still have one. It's a pretty quick and easy one. First off, Bones would definitely be this thing's trainer. Since he uses a zombie deck in the anime, I can definitely see him being a ghost-type trainer in the Pokemon world. But for Cofagrigus itself, it reminds me of that trap card, the first Sarcophagus, and the monster Spirit of the Pharaoh that's summoned by it. It's one of those you'll never summon this monster in the real card game. But of course, the anime has to show it off and make people think it's a monster they're going to use. Sorry Konami, not happening. I head to Relic Castle and can pick up the Shadow Ball TM while here, which again, I may need to delete this move at some point. Looking at you round 2 of the league, after confronting Getsis at the bottom of the castle and getting the Lightstone from Lenora, I grab the Pinwheel Forest rare candy, get some additional entries on Route 8 and in the Moor of Iceris before battling Bianca. She's easy, so I'm not gonna bother showing this one, but I do want to touch on a place I never really go to, and that's the shopping mall on Route 9. Waitress Flo here has a Lilligant, which we could see if we didn't already in Chargestone Cave, but there's also waiter Bert on the top floor who has a Lampent, which we haven't seen to this point. You can also purchase TMs here like Hyper Beam and Giga Impact, along with vitamins, but Cofagrigus doesn't need any of that, so why don't we just cut right to the 8th gym leader, Drayden. The first 2 Pokemon are irrelevant, Shadow Ball 1 and 2 shots them, but we need to talk about Haxorus. I expected Drayden to go for Dragon Dance, but it hits me with Assurance which does pathetic damage, and I go for Toxic, which misses, because I wasn't sure how much damage Haxorus would do to me, if at all, and I didn't think Shadow Ball would one-shot, but I should have just used Shadow Ball from the get-go. Next turn, Toxic hits, but Haxorus uses Dragon Tail, switching in Patrat. I let Haxorus take it out instead of switching out because I'll admit, I just wanted to be done with the main game and wasn't fully thinking about that. I started this battle against Drayden at 4 hours, 16 minutes, and 4 seconds into this run. Once Cofagrigus comes back in, Shadow Ball and Poison damage are too much for Haxorus. 8 gym badges earned in just over 4 hours and 15 minutes. I'm going to bring up the splits right now for the gym leaders for anyone curious, and I'll include that first Bianca rival battle as well, and you can just see at first glance how dreadful this run has been. Nearly 47 minutes just to beat the rival before Striaton City, and getting the first gym badge at just under 2 hours. But you can see that after getting out of Nacrene, things have sped up a little, and I say that very loosely. From beating Lenora to beating Drayden, it's been around an hour and 37 minutes. Pokemon I've played previously such as Stoutland, Excadrill, Mewtwo, and Sawsbuck have already beaten the game by now, and once I get around to re-ranking the starters, I'm sure they will as well, along with Haxorus. Can't forget good old Haxorus. There's one wall left for Cofagrigus to conquer before we can go to Victory Road, and that's the final rival battle with Charon, and I spent a good 6 to 7 minutes just stuck on Charon. His Unpheasant is a troll. It has Air Slash, which can flinch, Taunt to prevent the use of Toxic or Will-O-Wisp, because I tried out both in this battle, and Detect to waste my time. And just like the battle outside of Twist Mountain, it just wears down Cofagrigus to the point where I don't have enough HP to get by his 3 remaining Pokemon. One of the strategies I tried was using Thief. I don't want to use it on Unpheasant because it's holding a Scope Lens, but Liepard is holding a Citrus Berry, which will give me some healing for the 2 remaining Pokemon, and Superior has the leftovers, and while it does provide some healing every turn, though not much, I don't have enough HP to tank a Scald from Simipour, and after failed attempt after failed attempt, I'm going to take the level I get from this battle and take the Blackout. And unlike outside of Twist Mountain, I'm going to use rare candies. I've picked up 8 and I'm going to use 5 to bring Cofagrigus to level 65. I'll be able to pick up at least 2 more in Victory Road and End's Castle. And of course, at level 65, the luck just seems to align. I 2-shot the lead Unpheasant, who does hit me with a taunt, return 2-shots Liepard, who does hit me with 2 Night Slashes, and Shadow Ball 2-shots Superior, but thanks to the healing I've gotten from the Shell Bell against all of the Pokemon, I have enough HP to tank a Scald from Simipour, which does around half of my remaining HP, and Grass Knot 1-shots. I did take the time to grab some Dex entries on Route 10, and I'm going to do the same in Victory Road. By the time I get to the Pokemon League though, I'm going to be a few Dex entries short, but that's okay. I can face Chantal, who will get me 3 more Dex entries, Jellicent, Golurk, and Chandelure. It's also nice to see that she's super easy. Shadow Ball just 1 or 2 shots her entire team. I can face Grimsley next for a quick and easy Blackout. That way I can get out of the league, fly back to New Vema Town, and grab the TM for Hidden Power. Now, let's take on the league for real. I take on Chantal first, and in case you missed it a minute ago, she's really easy. Shadow Ball just 1 or 2 shots her team. Caitlyn is also very easy. Just leave your cursor on Shadow Ball. Marshall, also easy. The only one of his Pokemon that has a super effective damaging move against me is Throw with Payback, and their rock and ground moves don't do much to Cofagrigus thanks to its defense stat. But now we have Grimsley, the reason I wanted Hidden Power in the first place. It doesn't one-shot his lead Scrafty, who just hits me with Sand Attack, and the battle just kind of falls apart from here. While I get Grimsley to burn all of his healing items, I miss over and over, and Crocodile's Foul Play does so much damage. It easily takes me out. I taught Substitute before the next battle, hoping for another opening Sand Attack from Scrafty, which I do get. It's also nice that Cofagrigus is faster than his lead, which only has 72 speed, and his Ace Bisharp has 90 speed. Grimsley burns through all of his healing items, and I'm able to take out his lead with my sub in place and accuracy untouched. Crocodile immediately breaks my sub with Foul Play, but Grass Knot is able to one-shot it. Liepard follows, and Night Slash deals pathetic damage as Hidden Power one-shots, and Hidden Power is 4 times super effective against his Ace Bisharp. I'll show additional splits at the end of the main game, but Cofagrigus is clearing the final league member with a time of 4 hours, 43 minutes, and 12 seconds on the clock. I'm just glad that this awful run is almost at the finish line, at least for the main game, because you know I have to torture myself with the post game as well. In End's Castle, I'm going to grab the additional rare candy and use the 5 in my bag to go from level 70 to 75, because I feel like N is going to cause problems. I spent nearly 10 minutes just getting beaten by N over and over again, but I also made the mistake of resetting instead of blacking out, so for the first few battles I have to recatch Reshiram every time. As far as the battle against N though, I should have taught Shadow Ball over Return, because the physical move just isn't going to give me the damage I need on his lead Zekrom. I have to 3-shot the legendary dragon. I have Grass Knot just for Caracosta, and while I thought I needed a sub in place for this thing, I don't, and you'll see later on how you should play against this thing. Shadow Ball would be much better against Archeops, and I have to two-shot it for now with Hidden Power Fighting, but when Zoroark comes out, I stand no chance. I actually have a substitute in place for Zoroark in the next battle, and Hidden Power Fighting is able to one-shot the Dark type, but Vanillix is faster and Blizzard finishes me. In the third battle, after Zoroark beats me, I finally come to my senses and take the Blackout. I'm going to deposit my HM users and try again. After another loss at the hands of Zoroark, I get this battle. Shadow Ball two-shots Zekrom and it doesn't use Light Screen to weaken my attacks. And against Caracosta, I go for Grass Knot right away because I want it to hit me with Crunch, which it does, and because it made contact with me, its Sturdy is now replaced with Mummy. During the full restore turn, I can go for Substitute and then one-shot it with Grass Knot on the following turn. Crunch from the following Archeops doesn't break my sub and Shadow Ball one-shots the Fossil Bird. Zoroark does break my sub though, but as you know, Hidden Power Fighting one-shots. Vanillix, instead of going for Blizzard, goes for Hail instead, maybe because my HP is so high. Hidden Power one-shots it, along with his final Pokemon Klinklang. Now, let's face Ghetsis. In the mirror match, I'm just going to knock out his Coffin so I don't get hit with Toxic. He sends out Electros next and it hangs on from a Shadow Ball, but I get a special defense drop as it hits me with Crunch. Since he's going to heal it with a full restore, I set up a substitute, and thanks to the special defense drop, my next Shadow Ball one-shots. I think I should have this battle in the bag now. Hidden Power one-shots Bisharp, but it has to two-shot Hydreigon, who breaks my sub. Bouffalant is also a two-shot with Hidden Power, as Wild Charge does pathetic damage. His final Pokemon is Seismitoad, and I have Grass Knot for it, which deals 4 times super effective damage. We have a new worst Pokemon for the tier list. Cofagrigus finishes the game with a real time of 4 hours, 53 minutes, and 11 seconds at level 76 with an in-game time of 14 hours and 15 minutes. For anybody who wants to play this thing and optimize it, have at it. You have my blessing and I'll help you out any way I can, but I can confidently say I will never run this thing again. It gives Excelgor company at the bottom of the tier list. Here are all of the splits, by the way, that I mentioned earlier. I mentioned earlier in the video that things seem to have sped up once I got out of Nakarine City, but if we take the time when I defeated Lenora and subtract it from the time that I defeated Ghetsis, we still get a time of 2 hours and 14 minutes. Which is still pretty awful. I think at this point, the only thing that's going to compete with Cofagrigus at the bottom of the tier list, in terms of Unovan Pokemon, is probably Musharna, but even then, I think that thing will be able to do better than Cofagrigus, maybe by at least an hour, and hey, maybe I'll eat my words by the time I run that thing, but it's going to be a while. Because Cofagrigus is at such a high level though, and with access to some nice TMs right around the corner, I'm hoping it can have a fast post-game. Let's dive in. The first place I'm going to head to is the Relic Castle, and I take a safety save before proceeding, because you have to battle this lone Plasma Grunt. He has a level 64 Crocodile. Its Earthquake doesn't do much to me, thankfully, and Grass Knot just two-shots it. After defeating this Grunt though, you need to go down, left, and left again to find the Sage Ryoku. He talks about finding and catching Volcarona and gives you the TM for Calm Mind afterwards. But if you take the path he was blocking, you can find the Fire Moth at level 70. I take it on because I would like some extra experience, but Volcarona had other plans. It beats me once, twice, but the third time is the charm, and Cofagrigus gets the win. It's not looking good for when I have to face Alder's Volcarona, and I wish this thing gave as much experience as Kyurem did. Afterwards, I head east to Route 12 and grab the Energy Ball TM, and then to Route 13 to grab the Psychic TM, before heading to Undella Town to face Cynthia. I could have and should have Blackout trained on Cynthia, and even deposited my HM users prior to this battle, but seeing that I'm level 77 and will hit level 78 by the time this battle is over, I didn't think it was needed, but Blackout grinding to say level 80 or even level 82 or 3 could have helped me out, or even grabbing Waterfall and grabbing some of the candies that I skipped like Abundant Shrine and Lostlorn, along with Mistralton Cave and Challenger's Cave. Anyway, Cynthia isn't hard. Substitute, Calm Mind, and go to town with Shadow Ball and Psychic. I've grabbed all of the TMs I wanted, and there's no other useful items to grab, and since I'm skipping out on the candies previously mentioned, let's take on round 2 of the league. I start with Marshall. He's easy. His lead Breloom only has Grass Knot that can deal damage to me. I can block its Spore with Substitute and set up Calm Mind and just wreck his team. Caitlyn is also easy. Substitute to block Musharna's Hypnosis, set up Calm Mind and leave your cursor on Shadow Ball. Chantal surprisingly caused some problems. Against her lead Coffin, I set up Substitute to block its Will-O-Wisp. Then I start setting up Calm Minds, 3 in total before it breaks my sub. I re-establish Substitute before going to +4, and I thought this would be enough. Shadow Ball one-shots the Coffin, but Jellicent is faster and breaks my sub. I go for Psychic because I don't want Curse Body disabling Shadow Ball, and at +4, it leaves it on a quarter remaining, and right on cue, Curse Body activates. The only good thing is that majority of Chantel's team's offensive capabilities are more on the special attacking side, and Calm Mind also raises special defense, but all of her Pokemon are also faster than Cofagrigus, so they can get a hit in, and the recovery from the Shell Bell just isn't enough for me in this battle. I do make it to her final Pokemon Golurk, who is a physical attacker, and Shadow Punch finishes me. She beat me 3 more times before I got this battle. I thought I was going to need to set up to +6 in order to one-shot Jellicent with Psychic, and I do manage to get fully set up since her Cofagrigus just spams Will-O-Wisp over and over after my second use of Substitute, but Psychic at +6 doesn't one-shot the Jellyfish Pokemon. The good thing from this though is that as she burns through her healing items, I can heal up to nearly full HP with the Shell Bell, and while her Frostlass does break my sub, my special defense is so high, her special attackers can't deal any damage to me, and Golurk admits defeat and just goes for Curse, before Shadow Ball finishes it. But now we have round 2 Grimsley. I've taught Hidden Power and Energy Ball prior to this battle. There are a few problems with Grimsley. The first is that without setup, I just don't have the damage output I need for Pokemon like Crocodile, Scrafty, or Drapion, which leads us into the second problem, speed. Of the Pokemon I just named, 2 out of those 3 are faster, and 4 of Grimsley's 6 Pokemon are faster than Cofagrigus. If I want to set up, I'm potentially going to be getting hit at least twice before I can land a hit if I go that route, and that's if his Pokemon don't knock me out first. In total, I lost 5 times to Grimsley, including this attempt you're seeing right now, although this one is the furthest I made it at this level. It was after I lost this battle that I decided to take the Blackout, because the other 3 league members are relatively easy for Cofagrigus. I can defeat all of them, gain the experience, and rebattle Grimsley, but this is also why I mentioned those candies earlier. Let's say I took the time to grab Waterfall and then grab the Lostlorn, Abundant Shrine, and Mistralton Cave candies. I could have potentially made it by Grimsley a lot quicker. So now let's fast forward to my first battle at level 85, and I don't even make it by his lead Sharpedo. I mentioned that speed was a problem previously, and the first 3 Pokemon he sends out are all faster than Cofagrigus, and can deal decent damage to it. Sharpedo has Night Slash, which also has a high critical hit chance, which if it does crit, just wrecks me. Crocodile can hit hard with both Foul Play and Earthquake, and Liepard can deal decent damage with Sucker Punch. But the Pokemon that worries me most is Drapion, because I don't have a move that can deal super effective damage against it. Also, sorry that I haven't been narrating every Grimsley battle. At level 85, I lost an additional 8 times, including the attempt you're watching now, and I think I've pointed out everything working against Cofagrigus in this battle. I tried everything from Will-O-Wisp to lower the physical attack of his first 2 Pokemon, trying to squeeze in Calm Mind on Liepard in hopes it goes for Sucker Punch turn 1 and maybe something like Aerial Ace turn 2, to even trying setting up on Scrafty, who I do outspeed and can tank a crunch from. I started my first attempt at Grimsley at about 16.5 minutes into the post-game real time, and before blacking out to him a second time, or just under 29 minutes real time. That's how bad it's been. When I take him on again at level 88 or at 34.5 minutes, the time it took to get to him for the first time is the same amount of time I've roughly spent just losing over and over, while also blacking out twice. I had 2 quick losses to him before the battle we're watching now. If Sharpedo crits with Night Slash, reset immediately. I knock it out with Energy Ball and continue with this move against Crocodile. Its Foul Play brings me under half HP, but with the Shell Bell healing, I'm just above half. On the full restore turn, I squeeze in 1 turn of setup, which does allow Energy Ball to one-shot, but I only have 95 HP for now against the remaining 4 Pokemon. Against Liepard, I take a risk. I'm going to set up Substitute. It goes for Sucker Punch, which fails, and now I'm at 37 HP. My hope is that Liepard will use its remaining PP of Sucker Punch, which will fail over and over if I don't use an attacking move, and I can set up Calm Mind, and that's exactly what happens. I get fully set up, its Aerial Ace can't break my sub, and Hidden Power annihilates it. Hidden Power then one-shots the following Scrafty, and although Drapion breaks my sub, with full setup, Hidden Power one-shots it. Last is his Ace Bisharp. Hidden Power is 4 times super effective against it. Now, let's take on Alder. Excelgor is his lead. It's choosing to attack me with Energy Ball, which can lower my special defense, but Calm Mind just cancels out any loss. After setting up to +3, I go on the offensive. Shadow Ball one-shots the annoying bug. For some reason against Druddigon, I switch to Hidden Power, which has to 2-shot, and it hits me with an Outrage. Not sure what I was thinking there. He sends in his Ace Volcarona next. It's faster and uses its strongest attack, Overheat, which Cofagrigus survives with 39 HP remaining, and Shadow Ball at +3 one-shots. Vanillix follows, and I have a nice amount of HP for it. It's faster, but chooses Acid Armor. Hidden Power one-shots, and I go from a nice amount of HP to 95. Hidden Power is super effective against Bouffalant, and last is Escavalier. Hidden Power will be a 2-shot, and thank God for Shell Bell healing, because its Iron Head with a crit brings me to 26 HP. But thankfully, the Armored Bug is extremely slow, and this run is finally over. Cofagrigus completes the postgame with a real time of 37 minutes and 58 seconds, which is actually faster than Druddigon's, at level 90 with a cumulative game time of 15 hours and 51 minutes. If I were to sort my tier list by real time, Cofagrigus is in the middle of the pack in terms of post-game completion, and it's the same for additional game time, which is the metric I'm using for the post-game, so its C tier finish for the post-game tier list is fitting. This run was absolute hell, and I'm glad it's finally over. By the way, if you're interested in the splits for the post-game, here they are. I thought I would include Cynthia in these, but you can see the huge gap of when I defeated Chantal to when I defeated Grimsley. He was no joke in this playthrough. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching my pain and suffering for the last hour. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking it, leaving a comment, and if you're on mobile, hype the video. I normally don't plug those into videos, but considering that this took a lot of work and some of my sanity with it, I would really appreciate anybody's help to push this in the algorithm. Special shout out to my channel members, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Take care, everybody.